Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Wednesday. It's October 2nd, 2024. I know that I promised an official moon message and reading today, and I'm not saying that you're not going to get it unintentionally or just it fluidly coming forth, but it's not going to be in the traditional way that I've been delivering them, because when I went back and I really listened back to my last two messages, I realized that both of those messages are insanely in sync with this lunation. So much so that there really isn't much more that I need to say that hasn't already been said in a funny way. It just has just happened that way, which I love for myself because I was feeling the pressure to, figure out a way to get it done, even though I'm getting to the table late now because I've had a lot going on before I could make it here. But I also was happy about it for myself because I've already been expressing what I feel is an ideal transmission on target for the lunation and for this transit. So I would definitely offer that you kind of peek back at those messages and take a listen. Maybe even do your own research about what this lunation means if you haven't already, or if you don't already know. But I feel very secure and certain that there's a powerful resonance there that's good enough. Like it really, really is. So in this message, we'll just see, how the spirit guides. It could be very well a part 3 or a continuation of that frequency, which wouldn't surprise me at all. Or it just could be, something altogether fresh and new, because at this point, the solar eclipse would have happened at 2 something in the afternoon already. And not to say we aren't still going to feel the energy of that transit or that lunation. We certainly already are, but the height of it has already come and gone. And probably by the time this message even posts, it's not that late, but it may almost be damn near tomorrow, October 3rd. So let's just see how the spirit guides. It never leads me astray. It never leads me wrong. And even when I don't mean to be headed in a specific direction, lo and behold, that's exactly where I'm going. Meaning the past 2 days have not been my intention per se, especially not Monday. But it hasn't been my intention to really tap into that energy. But that's exactly what I did and what's come through. So one more cut and then let's just see where we are. Page. I don't know. I don't know why I do this, guys. I don't know. The King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles. Okay. Definitely some, let's see. This is stability, security, practicality, someone that could be reliable, dependable, and also generous. Someone that definitely doesn't mind or takes no guilt or shame in indulging in the finer things of life, whatever it is that they revere to be that. It doesn't have to all be material or necessarily like luxury or well, I should say materialistic or luxurious, but someone that definitely believes in treating themselves well in the highest frequency. So if they have a particular knack for fine clothes or good food, money, jewelry, even prestige and accomplishments and achievements, whatever it is that feels good to their senses, they have the ambition and the drive to acquire it or to pursue it, and usually do acquire it because there's a certain groundedness and focus with the King of Pentacles that allows him to do very, very well in a 3D world. But certainly not forsaken that there could be some energetic or spiritual or mental facility among, within a character such as this. But the 3D is definitely not one of their challenges. If anything, it may even be a great strong suit to know how to manage your physical existence and also your surroundings to the point where everything is working for you, and particularly not against you, but even working for you, almost in a passive way. Like this could be king of passive income. Not so much. Usually that's more, I would say that's more of the feminine aspect in the Queen of Pentacles, but it could be the masculine too that has investments well placed that are making money for him, or may even keep a powerful position or practical position in corporate America or in some official occupation or profession, but still has money working in other ways or side hustles of sorts and things like that. But anyway, could be any of that. Maybe it's you, maybe it's someone you're about to meet, maybe it's who you aspire to be, or maybe who you're becoming, on the other side of this eclipse. What I was feeling when I was, praying and preparing to read is I was saying, like, I was open for it to be a continuation, but I was feeling like it may actually be kind of like an outlook to the other side, like now us kind of seeing what there is to look forward to or to anticipate on the other side of this great change and transition. So could be something like that. Let's see what we got. And here's the moon. Interesting. Should this be centered? Yeah, let's center him. There's the moon. Let's see what's on the moon. Ooh, there's the star. Yeah. There is what's being laid to rest, what closure has been achieved, not just in this eclipse season from the partial lunar to this solar, but as I like to emphasize, since the last eclipse season and even before that, the top of this year, because there was so much going on, for us transitionally that has really, initiated change in a very intense, in an intense way that in some ways it feels like it's been gradually unfolding, but in other ways, if you really consider who you were at the top of this year to who you are now, is drastic. It's like some of us may have incurred some of the most aggressive changes over the past year than we have over the past 10. Maybe I'm exaggerating on that a little bit, but I think it's more the awareness of the transformation not just as it was occurring, but also in reflection. So it's like there was a great, and also, not as it was occurring, having the foresight, to kind of see, like almost navigate where even if you couldn't control the navigation, like having kind of like a projective view of what was on the horizon or what was coming up, and then also having the insight and clear perspective to see in the rear view what it all means up until this point, or what it was all worth, or what it all yielded. Because it's not many years, and at least I can speak for myself, that you're able to be so clear minded about the past, present, and future, to kind of be experiencing yourself fully present in the moment, still having a pulse on how you got here and why you're here from the regressive past, and also still having eyes forward facing the future, especially in any productive or, you know, optimistic sense. It was definitely a challenge to keep all of those senses in check. Yeah, something about that. So anyway, here is the Four of Cups, which I just feel like I must put here. I don't know what his point is over here next to the star, but I guess we're kind of about to find out. But yeah, this is the energies that have been released. This feels like a very present realization of identity, or a present point of view. And this may actually be the projection of what's to come, what's to look forward to, what's to be expected, what the potential outcome may be, or reality could amount to. But the Four of Cups seems to be a bit out of place. I mean, the only thing that I can connect it to is the antithesis of the energy that I'm championing for, which are those that have been intentional to go with the flow, and have been susceptible to the great changes that have been occurring, like submissive to the changes that have been occurring, and are still, more or less surrendered to what's still yet to unfold or yet to be. Because certainly, like, I ain't gonna lie, it feels pretty quiet where I'm sitting, for a solar eclipse. And I was considering that too, like, certainly we're not done, we're not out of the woods, and there's still some effect to be considered, or maybe accounted for. I don't know. Maybe not. But what I was thinking, as I was contemplating on it, is that a lot of the heavy lifting was done, so maybe the brace for impact that usually comes along with such an intensely transitional time as an eclipse, is not what we are used to anticipating, where you kind of gotta like hold on to your butts, like literally bunker down and, wait for the big boom, so to speak, or what's the thing that's about to completely derail your stability now, or what's the thing that's about to just like knock you off your square, or take you by surprise, or completely move you in a direction that you didn't necessarily have an anticipation for. But I was feeling like, a lot of the preparation for the moment such as this if you were kind of in alignment with it, what's happening throughout this year, where this transit, this moon, this lunation, this new moon, and this eclipse was more so about bringing closure to, and the final closure and release of imbalanced commitments and partnerships, but we've been doing that. By now, there's still, and not just limited to people per se, but even personal influences, or disconnects within yourself, or imbalances and agreements within yourself, who you are, what you do, what you profess to be, and how your actions or your day-to-day life exemplifies that. Like, is there a synergy between the spirit and the flesh of your matter, But if you've been doing that, you've been submissive to the universal order and flow, then it's kind of like, what more? Like, for me, I'm like, well, what more can you take that I haven't already given freely, or surrendered control over? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what more there could be to have, or to readjust or reclaim, or like, for me personally, I could be wrong, I could be overlooking something, or there could be something in my blind spot that has yet to be revealed. But I've been surrendered to the unknown for a long time now. Long time. So I feel like those that may be able to relate to that, there's nothing but a bright future to look forward to. Now, as I was about to say, those that have been resistant to that flow, holding on to the past, holding on to comforts, holding on to false ideals of security and stability, and the opposite of what the King of Pentacles is, where he's not necessarily materialistic, but he's a material master. These are the Four of Pentacles is more the energy, in this case, of those that allow the materials to master them, to be influenced by the obsession with, or at least the dependency on, material substance, for you to be, what was I saying? For you to be dependent upon that influence more than you influence it, or conduct the power and influence that comes along with the possession, if that makes sense. So basically, making the money, not letting the money make you. This is the opposite of that. Or this is the lower frequency of that. And of course, not limited to money, not limited to even tangible things. It could even be, again, your time, like holding on to an error in your life that has more or less expired, or an ideal about yourself, or even a projection or persona, or what's the right word? Like appearances. Not that, what is it? Reputation, maybe, I guess, about yourself that is not even, that doesn't even really yield much prosperous for you, anymore. Like the Four of Pentacles is like, it's something, but it's not everything. It's like just barely all that you really need to survive. Like in the lower frequency, we could talk about it being conservative and maybe even frugal or wise with your investments, and considerate of how you share your energy, your time, your attention, your resources, all of that for sure. But up here after this Four of Cups, which was the last card, it feels like something more resistant than that, like more somebody that's less accepting of the future as it is, because perhaps it just really isn't all that favorable to their senses. It certainly is not yielded in the capacity of their control, of which they would want to experience it at this point. But a large part of that is due to what was not released before this moment. Like, consider throughout this entire year being inundated with an invitation to be different, to do something different, to try different things, to think differently, to have a different approach or outcome, maybe even to redefine your personal identity, or redefine or give new meaning or worth to the things that do or have defined your identity. Imagine all year long and before that, but let's just say within the year, being invited to being offered that invitation and declining it every time, or maybe at best being selective with picking and choosing what invitation for change and transformation was most palatable to your comfort zone at that time, and maybe taking the universe up on that offer, but declining or rejecting the rest. There of course there's liberty and free will to do as you choose, but it doesn't mean that everything that you would see fit to decline or resist, especially when the universe is offering it, as is implied with the Four of Cups, is going to amount to your highest good. It's actually more probable that it won't, that it'll either create some deficiency in your holistic wellness, or something left to be desired, perhaps some scarcity, some limitation in the long run, where it may have been a short term or more immediate sacrifice, let's say, it was all for the purposes of securing stability for the future. For this point here, back to the King of Pentacles, having a strong foundation that ultimately is working for you, certainly not against you, but even better, is working for you. This is the energy in the Four of Cups with the Four of Pentacles, where someone may be displeased or dissatisfied now in hindsight, considering their choices and their investments, because they feel like what's yielded now is working against their most ideal desires. There's very little satisfaction here in this Four of Cups, because you can't change what's already been done. You can't go back in time and now RSVP to all of those invitations and like transport yourself into the presence of that experience. Now you may be able to go back and RSVP, but it won't be for an event or an experience that has already taken place. Now all you have is to look forward to what you can, that you can attend without regrets, if that makes sense, literally and figuratively. Now you may, mind you, because some events just may not be, You know, it might have been a once in a lifetime thing for some things, but there may be some things that you know, may be annual, or you can come back around to it again and, you know, make sure that you're in attendance or make sure you're present, more or less. And it may have the result that would shift this feeling of FOMO here with the Four of Cups for something a little bit more satisfying. But quite honestly, there are some things that just can't be reclaimed or redeemed or revisited. And at that point, with the Four of Cups, it matters most to shift your perspective to what you can do in this present moment, what's still attainable, what's still available, achievable or retrievable even, rather than to be fixated on the past, you know. And that's the challenge though, because if you are someone here in the Four of Cups looking around at how other people are experiencing the after party, so to speak, you know, from the, I don't know, the invitations that they were, you know, that they RSVP to, the events in their lives, those transformational events that they were in attendance to, it can be kind of like a salty feeling, you know, like to see people living in a you know, a stable, secure, and, you know, self-sufficient, and you know, even healed and ascended expression of life. You know what I mean? Like this is I mean, well, Aquarius can definitely give a hint of some like otherworldly energy, but it's still 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the earth. And of course, the King of Pentacles is all grounded. So it's like there's nothing so special here in this experience that it wasn't attainable by anyone that would have been open to it. And that's kind of the hurt piece, because it's like, it's not like it's so selective that someone never had a chance. Like they had all the opportunity to engage in the world with themselves, you know what I mean? But they refused to take up that offer. And now on the other side of things, there is like this regret and this, again, sense of feeling of missing out, that is really kind of hard to shake. You know, it's hard to shake because it doesn't do you any justice to stay in that frequency. It's not going to change anything, you know, miraculously for you. It's not going to change the present circumstance. And it doesn't add any value to what you need to be prepared to invest in at this point, you know, or for the future even. And you're going to need all of your senses and all of your resources about you at this point to fully invest into what's next. So that's like the disparity between those that are experiencing this lunation in a high frequency and those that may be experiencing in a low one. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, justice. And it's all fair, because as I was saying, it's like everybody had the same invitation. Everybody was given the same access and same rights, and you know, more or less was given an opportunity to review their contractual agreements with themselves first and foremost to consider, is this working for me? Do I like these terms? Am I in agreement with what this is yielding me? Am I in agreement with the cause and effect of my participation, or my, not participation, what's the right word? Agreement is pretty much the word, but there's something else I'm trying to find, like for you to I guess maybe investment also. Compliance. That's what it feels more like, especially if we're talking about contracts. Yeah, maybe a compliance with the contracts that you forged agreement with, like, and with the Four of Swords, it definitely could even read, and with the Moon card, about your fears and your past traumas. That's what was really in consideration for clearing. Like, how much of the past do you feel bound to? Are you binded by? And really it was a matter of what you say. You were just invited to review the terms. And that happened by way of considering the signs and signals in your natural waking life that were pointing you in the direction of where there may have been some imbalances. It wasn't like so mysterious that you couldn't detect where the infraction might be. It was sensible enough and detectable enough that you could deduct where there may be room for renegotiation or reconsideration of terms that may have been in place perhaps since you were born, maybe even for lifetimes of your existence. So, everyone had that opportunity. It wasn't like, only a few people. Of course, there were interferences, that we all grappled with collectively in that consideration process or renegotiation process. And that was the mystique of it all. And the Moon card, the hidden terms that you more or less had to, that's where you would have needed almost to like consult, what do you call it? Like consult, in this case, like a spiritual professional, which would be like a lawyer, right? But in this case, like a spiritual, what do you call it? Like counsel, which was all still inside out. It wasn't so much outside in as it was inside out, but you had to kind of defer to a spiritual counsel to help you decipher and in some ways decode those hidden terms so that you could be fully aware and accountable for what you were signing on to. Because one thing that we also didn't have the liberty of, especially now, is the excuse that you didn't know, you didn't read it, you didn't understand, it was obscure, it was confusing. Like, when you sign a contract, you don't get to say that, well, I signed it, but I didn't know what I was signing, or I made the agreement, but it was unclear. It's just as soon as you sign your name on the dotted line, and in this case, more energetically, signing, signing your energy to ideals and realities that may have even been illusions. Now that hindsight is 2020, that those are the things that you still have to be accountable for, may even be still on the hook to fulfill otherwise to default on, which again is still up to you, you know what I mean? But perhaps even now not without penalty, because maybe there was a grace period. Here it is. There was more of a grace period in those renegotiations and considerations before that is not as forgiving now, because so much time has passed. You know what I mean? Like, so much time has passed that has been allotted to read every, to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And now at this point, like I said, you're either stuck with having to kind of eat the terms and take it on the chin, and or to default on those that agreement and on those terms, take whatever penalty may come along with it, and at least still be able to look forward to being released from that binding. That's like the best case scenario. But some people are having a hard time accepting that reality because of their fear of what, again, that Four of Pentacles, what they may still, what penalties they may have to incur at this point, but it's still better than being entangled, like that's my personal opinion on it. Nine of Cups, yeah, this is the energy of still kind of wanting to, maybe talk your way out of it, finesse your way out of it. And at the Four of Cups, like it's no way you can't finesse the system, especially not the spiritual system. Now, the natural system, sometimes you can, and even that's becoming harder and harder as there's more of an alignment between spirit and truth, more and more each day. But this is the energy of the Knight of Cups that may even be used to being able to wiggle their way out of agreements and, finesse the hidden terms or shift them in their favor more so, or even to be able to avoid compliance altogether, maybe charm their way out of complying with what's expected or delivering the deliverables that are expected. Okay, interesting. And it's just not that simple anymore. Like, these are charms that are not as effective as they once used to be. Like, somebody that's used to almost seducing their way out of circumstances just doesn't seem to have the turn on that they used to. And that's just circumstantial because of how creation has evolved and moved beyond the finesse factor, or is moving beyond the finesse factor, which is also a part of this eclipse effect, where, where you could fabricate connection, or your how can I say, like, fabricate your commitment. There it is, like fabricate commitment, and kind of like fake it till you make it, or promise yourself to terms, or promise yourself to something that you really don't have any true intentions to fulfill. It's like that's not allowed anymore. If you commit yourself to it, if you pledge yourself to it, you either have to make do on those expectations and on that fulfillment, or again incur the penalties. But you can't finesse your way out of it. So that goes without saying about even professing yourself, as I said, like somebody's public persona, or their public identity or personality or whatever. It's like you can't profess yourself to be anything that you don't have the qualifications, the credentials, the energy to back up, because you're going to be on the hook for that proclamation one way or another. Like the universe, somebody's going to be expecting for you to produce in that function, or else you're going to have, some irritated resistance on your hands, that may be more unsavory than just being honest about who you are. What you project would be disfavorable, unsavory about just being honest about who you are, what you do, and hell, what you don't. You know what I mean? There's something about that here. It's a range of things I feel like I'm talking about, but let's keep going. Oh, let's flip first. I'm gonna take the Magician. Good old moon magic. If there's anything being reformed, it's certainly that. One thing you cannot do anymore is manipulate celestial bodies for your own personal benefit or for diabolical intentions and agendas. That is illegal. So that means whether it be a full moon, new moon, crescent moon, lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, hell, anything in between, to be honest, like just using the elements to your advantage, particularly for the purposes of someone else's or something else's disadvantage. That's illegal. You cannot do that. The only thing that you can project your magic of your manifestation magic toward is your own advancement. And I don't mean in the sense of advancement against others, meaning you can only project that and those intentions toward enhancing, here it is, King of Pentacles, enhancing your own personal qualities, like even protection. And when I'm saying like advancing your personal qualities, you better make sure it's not just superficial, that you just not looking to, there needs to be a grounding of pure intentions associated with that projection as well, where that's just as bad as projecting against someone else. But meaning you won't be able to wield your power toward superficiality or exclusively material things for lustful purposes or overindulgent purposes and intentions, like just wanting to be rich to flex or to flaunt or to prove something to somebody or prove, you know what I mean? Like all of that, it's not necessarily that it'll backfire, but it just probably won't be productive, probably won't be successful if that's what the grounds of your intentions are. The things that are absolutely inadmissible and will be punishable to the fullest extent of spiritual law are when you're using these celestial forces, or trying to, because I don't even think you'll really be able to much anymore, but trying to use those forces as like a sword or a weapon or attack against someone else, trying to take something from somebody, lift something off of them, steal energy, siphon energy, block other people's prosperity or productivity or progression, their blessings, their gifts, destiny swapping, yeah, God forbid, death magic, like any of that is like up for immediate persecution. Like almost as soon as you have the intention is as soon as you can more or less expect to be trialed by fire for it. And I don't really think you want them problems in this spiritual climate. It's just too tricky. It's too wild out here. Energetically, it's like the wild, wild west out here, for real, where people are coming into realization and awareness of their personal power and strength, which is amazing, but not everybody is mature and disciplined to wield it responsibly. So you could put yourself in the line of fire doing something reckless if you want to, and you wouldn't have to go far to experience that backlash. It'll always be somebody out there that'll be willing to return the force, and not in a good way. But even in terms of what you do to empower your own progression and advancement, gets to be responsible and intentional and pure, and more in the way of prosperity than particularly profitability, because we know prosperity is far more high-minded and wide range than just how much money you have or how many things you can acquire. That ain't really doing much for anybody. Now, you can wield that force as a sign and a wonder that works in your favor, because we, being human beings, do see symbols of luxury and productivity as tangible things. So I feel like in this season it's all admissible, which is why there is a great transfer of wealth and power that's happening for those that have more or less released their attachments to the meaning that it projects to them about their identity, or to others about their identity exclusively, to allow those that have purged that energy to now be in the alignment to receive it fully, because you have been matured, as I said with the King of Pentacles, to not let the money make you, to know, to have like a pure perspective of what wealth really does project, and also how you can use that special effect, so to speak, to ultimately impress a more powerful meaning of life upon others. That if you think this is impressive because I got a couple nice things, then let me show you how I got it. Because it wasn't just a matter of, me working my fingers to the bone, or stepping on competition to get to the top of some food chain, or hoarding wealth for the purposes of splurging, to floss. It's not that. It's something much more soul driven that I would actually like to share with you. If you like this if you like this facade, not to say it's really a facade, but like if you like what you see, then let me actually show you what's behind the man or woman, in this case, to really lead people inspirationally to their reservoir of wealth from the inside out. Star card right here. Inspiring others to find that fountain of youth, that endless well, so to speak, for themselves, so that their prosperity could be endless and damn near effortless too. That to me is the intention of wealth. Not, of course, to be able to help and make an impact in this three-dimensional world that right now does take money, to move things and to move and shake. Imagine how many people you could actually help when you have an unlimited resource to do so. So I'm not saying that it's worthless and useless, because it's not. I ain't one of those that denounces money. Like, I hate it. For as long as it matters in this world, it will always matter to me, because that's just more capital for my my ministry. You know what I mean? Like, that's just more people that I can bless and bliss and influence to then carry on their mission just the same, you know. But for those that what was I gonna say? There was a but to that, or a however, but I don't remember it. Maybe it don't even matter, because right now, you know, money is not a bad thing. It's the lust and the obsession with it that is the pitfall. And a lot of the releasing of that temptation was done in seasons past, particularly among those that didn't really have a lot, you know, or had a little, and more or less were charged to manage that well, you know, and were observed in how you managed that small fortune. And a lot of that was even energetic more than it was actually tangible or physical, which mattered more than it does in the physical form, because it's the character of the man or woman that needs to be refined first and foremost before the physical resonance of wealth can be realized, you know, because once you've released the scarce mindset, you know, and the poverty mindset and survival of the fittest and fear and even insecurities around your stability and wellness and, you know, so many things, and even what any of it means, like, as I said, like reassigning a meaning and a value to it all, you are in the healed space to receive the world at that point, you know, to be conducive to a conscious wealth that is endless, you know, that can be reinvested infinity times over and will never lose its value, you know. So anything, again, that comes on account of a material manifestation is just, you know, just added value, just sweetens the pot. Yeah, and here's the Five of Swords. Like, this is the obstinate energy that acts as a resistance toward this advancement, because it doesn't really want to see a prosperity mindset flourish and spread like wildfire, particularly amongst those that can't really monopolize on that. Like, you can't capitalize on sovereign beings that are self-secure, self-sufficient, well-established, healed, fully operational in their own personal power, and self-controlled in it as well, like own code of ethics and their own moral standards that are unshakable and in alignment with universal ethics and standards. Like, what entity or principality in the earth can position itself as a force against that with success? You know what I mean? Like, it's defeated. And the more that this movement continues to advance, is the more L's this energy is going to take. And it's only going to accelerate on account of this solar eclipse, because as I spoke in one of those messages, I think it was the last one, this surge of awakening that I don't think any of us see coming. That's why I feel it's kind of like the calm before the storm. Maybe that's what I'm feeling. It's like, well, it's awfully quiet in here. Is everybody all right? Is everything good? And maybe I'm just disconnected. I don't know, or in my own little world, perhaps wouldn't be the first time. But it's something about the transference and transmission of an accelerated force from spirit into flesh, that I feel is happening on account of this lunation, that is the unstoppable force, like the force to be reckoned with. And I feel like it's coming on account of like almost an instantaneous jolt of like alert, you know what I mean? Like something that can't be dismissed or ignored, or that can't be disregarded, that is on the way, or is I don't know. It's happening though. That I feel like there's some celestial connection to that asteroid, honestly, that's in our orbit since I forget what day that was. I think it was September 29th or 30th or something that was supposed to occur. That was the two moons effect. I feel like there's something to that may be unfolding, again, as I was saying, like happening gradually, but acceleratedly as well, because it's only supposed to be in orbit for like a short, I think it's like 59 days or something like that, which is not really that long. That's just pretty much looking out toward the rest of the season, right? But imagine Earth incurring such a drastic change in its atmosphere and its orbit over such a short period of time. And if it does have an effect, how intense must it be, and how prevalent and prominent must it be to observe and or experience, if it truly does have a direct effect, which I just do believe it does. That may not be the only thing, because there's a lot going on energetically in the cosmos, but I feel like that has something to do with it. That definitely does. And I feel like that otherworldly energy, now closer to home here for us, has an as above, so below effect that, like I said, we're not even really on guard to project how it may look or resonate, because it's not anything that we've experienced at this close proximity in our lifetimes, at least not mine, I'll say. So it's like we're observing it in the present, and us in the present having this experience, but the effects of it all, even though they're happening in real time, may not be completely noticeable until it's completed its orbit, and we get to look back, like almost looking ourselves over, like, whoa, when did this happen? When did I start shining? Star card. Where did I get this glow from? Like, something in the air or something. It may even cause people to kind of feel a little bit fearful of whatever this effect is. Not saying it's absolutely the asteroid, but just connecting it to that, hypothetically, I suppose. That we get to observe the transformation in a physical sense, a natural being, a natural resonance, to say, whoa, what is that? I'm looking real sparkly, like, what is that on? And you may almost feel like, what they doing? Like they spraying something in the air again, or they, which could be, I'll say this now, could be the projection, Five of Swords, I ain't saying this for no reason, could be the projection of illusions, straight up lies, by the obstinate forces to want to cause confusion about this effect, to almost diminish it what's worse, maybe even demonize it, but even somewhere in the middle, inflict a fear about it, like something is wrong with you if you're experiencing that, or you need to be quarantined or isolated, or there is some type of illness or sickness or something like that. Particularly on account of those that what are not in alignment, they're not conducive to receive it. And that's probably what's going to be most noticeable. Damn, that's crazy. So that's why I was saying that those that are kind of observing others kind of shining in their natural eminence, but they don't have that sparkle, that privilege. It could be inside out, but I feel like there's a certain I'm feeling that what I'm saying on there being something more visible. And I've said this in the last two messages too. One of those about a visibility of eminence that won't be deniable. And so therefore, those that don't have it are either going to have to figure out a way to distance themselves or set themselves apart, maybe even set themselves, exalt themselves above and diminish those that are or have below, because they rather not, as I said before, just it's too hard to accept or to admit what they just are not privy to at this time, or what they haven't had the privilege of receiving on account of their own, again, their own RSVPs, their own regrets, literally, regretfully declining invitations over these cycles that would have helped them along to this frequency. But instead of being honest about it, it's too excruciating to admit that even to themselves. And certainly if they can project an illusion, an outright lie even about it to exalt themselves, then they will. But I've already said what I said, so that means that it's a proclamation against that energy prevailing, and it's just as defeated now in the intention to present itself in that frequency than it is to actually execute it. So there's that. So let's move on. And shoot, like, I can only do what I can do personally. It really is, it's survival of the fittest out here, but not in the way that we've been conditioned to submit to that. It's about really relying on what you have cultivated through your own consciousness, through the purification of your subconsciousness. That is what you have to secure your vitality. That's the survival of the fittest, not who has the most, who can do the most, or who's even physically stronger. It's about who's most adaptable, who has been most adaptable up until this point, and therefore has cultivated those habits and that those practices in a way that still keeps you in alignment with your spiritual supremacy, but still keeps you amenable to the three-dimensional world. Again, like right here, you can manifest at your free will, but in alignment with what is righteous, not religious, but righteous, in integrity. Everybody wasn't working on that over this past year or more. Some people were still too focused on getting rich and dying trying, or holding on to what they had acquired for fear of what that means if they didn't have it anymore, And now that it's diminishing, by the day, it's kind of like there's virtually nothing to hang your hat on if you haven't cultivated anything from the inside out. 10 of Cups, this bliss energy back at it again, and I love to see it. I love to see it, honey. the promise of the divine in full effect, like fully realized. That's what I'm getting, and expressed through human consciousness. So it's no longer an ideal of heaven on earth. It's no longer an ideal of fulfillment, wish fulfillment. Here, star card, uh, satisfaction, bliss, happiness, joy, um, being pleased with the life you live, being there being nothing left to desire. That's not just a fantasy or folly anymore. That's also what that Five of Swords energy has worked hard to resist and regress the advancement of this realization, but still would try to work hard to suppress, even as it's being realized in real time, like evidently realized before our own eyes, to somehow even depreciate that value as if it doesn't measure up to the standard metrics, because everybody's ideal of happily ever after is certainly different and unique, and it's associated with your own personal destiny, so it can't be compared or contrasted with anyone else, really. But the obstinate energy would have you feel like, well, if I'm not having it like so and so, or if I'm not having it like this, or if it's not shaping up to look like what the conventional ideal has been all this time, then maybe I must not be living in it. I must not have achieved it. When it's more inside out than it is outside in anyway. And yes, I believe that there will be material harvests and spoils that come with this realization of righteousness and humanity. I do believe that, because I feel like I said that that's the way that new souls are inspired, But I also feel like it's still going to always be more of a resonance on the inside that can't even really be explained. It has to be more experienced, maybe exemplified through the physical, the physical evidence and production of it all. But the inside is what's going to be so precious. It already is. If you feel the energy, if you're in alignment with the shifts that have been occurring, like I said, like just you looking over yourself from the top of the year where you could be over the course of this year under dire circumstances, because it hasn't been an easy year. Just considering, literally, you could have been laid to rest in this year, mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically for some of us, because the Five of Swords energy was definitely intentional to have that outcome. It just wasn't all too successful in achieving that. That was a dark demonic contract that it had made an agreement with, that ultimately turned out to be a fluke, you know what I mean? And now they're bound to it, unfortunately, where, like I said, all the other things apply, either to make good on it and fulfill the terms, or, to default and bear the consequences or the penalties. But anyway, aside from that, this was a year where the best of you was realized before your own eyes. That I'm sure, if you resonate with this, that you observed yourself in ways that you just didn't even know you had the capacity to be, that you didn't know you had the strength and the resilience to express. And that is the true treasure. The things that you purified your creative consciousness to manifest intentionally and actively, that you in years past would have never had the audacity to believe for. That's the real treasure. That's the real advancement. That's the real bliss here, because It doesn't make sense that you would have been able to do that in the world as it was set up. It was set up for failure for all of us. Hidden terms and contracts that were just binding and pure exploitative. But somehow you stayed in covenant with the supreme source of all and were able to maintain your own integrity within that agreement in a way that is long-standing. Like that contract can't be canceled unless you decide to do so. And who would want to do that? What? Temperance, exactly. Self-control, harmony, healing, balance, peace, what's the other word? Like I was saying, like finding what's the word that I usually use with temperance? Not addictions or overindulgence, but moderation, which is really just the balance, in this case, the balance between your spirit and your flesh. To finding that happy medium of healing and satisfaction, and even indulgence at times, which ties into the satisfaction piece, but like really not forsaking one aspect or the other of you, and all things, both dualities being well taken care of, well accepted and accounted for. That's not easy to maintain. That's not easy to achieve, and that's not easy to maintain. But this says that that's what has been achieved through this processing over time. And obviously, there's been enough evidence of maintenance in that regard, again, to put those in a position to resonate with those in a spiritual supreme position, like to ascend to spiritual supremacy in such a way that it puts you in alignment to receive this I don't know, what is this again? I know yesterday I called it eternal ecstasy, but we got the Star card here, and we got the 10 of Cups. It's still about bliss. It's like ascended. Oh, I hear a conscious climax. What? Wow. That's what I mean by spiritual supremacy. Like wow. Like the levels of healing that you just eternally ascend into are limitlessly satisfying. Like, imagine, I know it keeps getting sexual. I don't know why. Probably the Libra energy too, because Libra is sex. It's love, but it's also sex and sensuality. But it's something about, and imagine in this solar eclipse is probably intensified, right? A conscious climax, because it's something about like the ceiling being blown off of how high you can actually go. and also how sensationally like pleasured, yeah, like it's like a sensational pleasure of sorts to continue to climb, whereas before it's felt almost like an upheaval, like to get to a certain point, and let alone to stay there. It's been a fight, it's been a battle, it's been a struggle. But it's like there's more to ascend into, but instead of it feeling like a force or a struggle or an upheaval and a battle, it's like more and more pleasurable as you ascend. Like it's like euphoric with each level of ascension is what I'm feeling. What I say, conscious climax. Ugh. Imagine like in like a physical, practical sense. Every time you, oh my gosh, every time you engage your partner intimately, it's like the climax gets better and better. You know how in most encounters, more or less, you kind of either plateau out in your pleasure in some way, shape, or form, or you just kind of become used to the level of pleasure. Even if it's good, it's just like what to look forward to. It's probably very rare that it's going to be mind blowing, once you've kind of gotten accustomed to the comforts of that exchange. And in the best way possible, not literally being bored or anything, but just like, you know, a consistency, let's say. But this right here is feeling like, especially with the temperance, is feeling like this euphoria and this ecstasy and this orgasmic, cosmic experience harnessed in the physical form, though, where like every time, let's say actually again, practically every time you encounter your lover is so pure and elevated that each and every time it's like either the first time all over again or something that surpasses the time before. Like, can you imagine, like, every single time without fail you feel like can nothing get better than last time, but it's like here you go again and it's like, oh my God, like, who are you and where have you been all my life? It's just like somebody that can, is one thing to have somebody that can consistently without fail get you there every time, but it's another thing for somebody to like top each experience. Like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Okay, you get the point. You get the point. That's what I'm channeling right now, and I feel it in my bones for real. And certainly it's not limited to a carnal experience, because like I said, this is about the carnal and the spiritual, but it's something about this. I said that that's what's to look forward to, this eternal ecstasy. So this must be a part of the package deal, especially for those that are in very pure partnerships, which is also a part of the package deal, if you're in the market for it, I would say. And it could also resonate beyond sex, of course. It could be, being so fulfilled in your purpose and your job and your business and your influence in the world, and the things that you've manifested in the ways that you do, that you are charitable, that you do impact change. All of that could be euphoric too, but it's something definitely to be said about this experience, and even brace yourself, excretion as she's pouring out water of ecstasy that it's like regenerative. It's never ending and it's ever evolving. So you could never be depleted. You always have enough in store to fulfill yourself and to share and to pour out. Can you imagine that? That's amazing. So whatever you apply it to, not only is it literally always your pleasure to receive, it's also your pleasure, like Chick-fil-A, to serve and express and to release, more so is the word I'm looking for. Wow. Okay. All right. Last card. Last card. Oh my goodness. That is such a privilege. No wonder those that aren't so privileged. What was that? Was that the devil? Oh no, that was the Six of Cups. No wonder those, which is also soulmate energy. So that's definitely confirmation on the pure partnerships. Now that was the devil. I saw your ass. Oh no, it wasn't. It's the King of Wands. My bad, baby. My bad. I saw all that red. Look, this is the acceleration right here. And the reason why it was in like a sideways struggle is because, like I said, some people, and like I was about to expound on, some people are in direct alignment with it, and some people it has just completely passed them by, and they are sick about it. They are sick about it because it is bitter, not bittersweet, but just simply bitter to look back in reflection, to consider all the things that you could have done that would have made all the difference now to put you in the direct alignment with this frequency. Of all of this that I just said, this is like the ultimate climax here. Like I said, like it just keeps getting better. Literally, get into it. It's the 10 of Cups, water energy with the 8 of Wands. And this means like masculine and feminine alike, nobody is left out. Nobody is forgotten. Each force that is in alignment and in the market for this experience is due to receive it. But those that are not, man, I can only hope for their sake that they are inspired by the sheer evidence and prevalence of its existence, well, the prevalence and evidence of its existence, to diligently pursue it for themselves, but this time on the inside out as opposed to the outside in. To just shift the perspective, turn around, and go for it. You got it if you want it. It might not be as graceful of a pursuit as it was before, but does that really matter when it's still possible? No, it really doesn't. It's just about how you see it. So I hope for the sake of those that truly, truly desire to have this experience with pure intention, that they have the strength to obtain it. I really, really hope that, because I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, not really, of one that is truly capable of transformation in any triumphant way for their own sake and for the greatest good of all, to miss out on this. It's literally criminal. It's a shame, and it's unnecessary. So if there's still opportunity, don't miss this time around. Just pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Stop being resistant and bitter and angry and fixated on what you shoulda, coulda, woulda, because it don't even matter anymore. Just pick up and go. Wherever the spirit leads, whatever the spirit is guiding you to receive within that cup, go ahead and take it to the head. Empower yourself for as much as you possibly can and get to work, period. Because nobody should miss out on this if it's available. Nah, man, nobody. Because the more of this energy that is realized in the earth, the better it is overall for creation. This is the advancement of this this frequency here, this blissfulness that, again, like I say, catches on like wildfire. Because when you see it and when you can believe it because you see it, then you can achieve it. And then if you achieve it and attain it, that makes you now a poster child for someone else's inspiration, and so on and so forth. So that before you know it, all of creation is living in Eden. Maybe not, the sensationalized reference of that ideal, but certainly universally we can all get with the concept of a heaven on earth. And that's what this is given. That it doesn't have to be happening in little pockets of reality for some and not for others. Like, it could be a universal experience and expression. It really could. I believe it. And it may take some more purging of forces that just insist on being the ops, because they just can't conceive of any other way to cultivate creativity from their spiritual and human being, without literally exploiting someone else as a resource. We can do without that. If that's what you want, then you can definitely stay on the outskirts, on the fray of society as it's evolving. But those that have the heart, the mind, the will, the soul to be in bliss, to be bliss, let's just say, cut the middleman, just to be bliss. I mean, come on. Why not? Why not? Why resist that reality any longer than what's necessary? It's the Queen of Wands, baby. The Queen of Wands. And the Seven of Cups. Yeah, breaking through those illusions. We don't have to subscribe to these illusions or delusions anymore. We are empowered to produce beyond that. And I love that I did catch the King of Wands too, so we know that the masculine force is just, again, nobody's left behind here. Everybody is well taken care of and well satisfied. And one thing about it, the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands are both going to be satisfied. I can definitely speak to that firsthand, okay? So yeah, it's like not taking no for an answer, or not settling for less than what you deserve, even what your senses are craving. But still, I love that it's the Queen of Wands and then the King of Wands, because it still refers to being balanced, and even in your desires and desirability, to still have an intention behind your ambitions, and to be self-controlled, and have moderation and consideration for your objects of passion, but definitely not being so deluded to choose wrong, and then ultimately wield this power into forces that don't yield anything productive or prosperous. Like, the Queen of Wands still has a wand, okay? So consider that like the phallic, and the cup is like, the feminine force field, to some degree. And to procreate with ambiguity, with anything that is not certain or sound, or certainly not reflective. Like, if this is anything really less than the King of Wands or King of Cups, or even the King of Swords that are King of Pentacles in their highest frequency, this is like and this is like a ghost, like an illusion, like this energy doesn't even really exist. So what can really be produced of it? There can't be seed of this frequency that doesn't even truly have an identity. And if there is seed, it's only going to be yield something more distorted. You know what I mean? So it's like you would be careful of what you are intimate with and procreate, intentional to be co-creative and procreative with, because you do carry a premium seed and sacred, and have a sacred womb. So you wouldn't want to align yourself with anything that would produce something that is only going to contribute to more of what we are trying to release, like almost recreating a cycle, or recreating the seed of a karmic cycle that ultimately is going to have to at least be purged or to be transformed, because once it exists, now that energy has to be accounted for. So this could be, practically speaking, since it got so sensual, to literally be connecting intimately with energies that you either can't effectively and certainly account for their origin, their intention, their come from, their projections, maybe even their beliefs, their ambitions, their worth, their value, but you indulge in the exchange just because, just being adventurous, or something to do, or discovery, or whatever, boredom, whatever the case may be. It's like, why would you do that and risk putting your energy at a disadvantage, or depleting your energy into a lesser force that doesn't even deserve to absorb it, or to, again, create something of it, like, say, a child, a pregnancy, or God forbid, even like an STD or STI, and in this case, more a spiritually transmitted infection or disease than even a physical one, when you just could have avoided the risk altogether in your highest mind and your greatest sensibility, and also being extremely selective, as the Queen of Wands can be. The Queen of Wands can definitely be a bit, elitist about her passions. Like, if you don't do it for her, you just don't do it for her, and it ain't no faking it till you make it. Literally ain't no faking it. Not a mature Queen of Wands. So it's like, only authentic and pure pleasures, please, in every way, shape, and form. I could go down the list of the obvious, but I think you can deduct that for yourself in whichever way it resonates. If it's not adding a resonance to what I explained here, what I expressed about this conscious climax and this, euphoric ascension, and eternal ecstasy, and all of those like fantastical terms that are actually quite attainable and achievable, as far as I'm concerned in this message, then it's not worth the chance. If it's not looking like it could be that, and if it even looks ambiguous, then it's already a no, in my opinion. If it's too confusing to tell, or it's trying to elude you to be something, back to that Four of Pentacles, that it's not, or if it literally doesn't light your fire, but you give it a chance anyway. And one thing about it is the Queen of Wands cannot refute that spark. It's either lit or it's not. And if it's not, there's a reason for that. There's an absolute reason for that shouldn't be ignored. And if you even if you can even like stabilize that as a standard, it might save you a lot of trouble, filter out a lot of undesirable energy, and just keep you focused and on track for the ultimate prize here. Like I said, you don't want to settle for anything less and miss out on the best and be sitting over here with the Four of Cups with your arms crossed, pouting. Nah, man. Uh-uh. I want it all. I want all of that passion, all of that ecstasy, all of that pleasure right there. I want that. And I wish it for you. So anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.